Bryce Laspisa's Toyota Highlander was found overturned at the bottom of an embankment near Castaic Lake, California. The back window had been smashed from the inside, his wallet and phone were still in the car, but Bryce himself was nowhere to be found. What led a 19-year-old college sophomore to vanish without a trace, leaving behind a trail of strange behavior and unanswered questions? To understand Bryce's disappearance, we have to go back to August 2013. Bryce was finishing his summer break and preparing to start his second year at Sierra College in Rocklin, California. By all accounts, things seemed to be going well for him. He was studying graphic design, had a close group of friends, a girlfriend he cared about, and loving, supportive parents back home in Laguna Niguel. But in the weeks leading up to his disappearance, those around Bryce began noticing subtle but troubling changes in his behavior. His girlfriend, Kim Sly, later described him as acting distant and erratic. Friends noticed he was drinking heavily, much more than he had in the past. Bryce even admitted to taking Vyvanse, a prescription ADHD medication that he didn't have a prescription for. Taken improperly, Vyvanse can cause mood swings, insomnia, and agitation. Bryce also began giving away his belongings without explanation. He handed a pair of diamond earrings he'd gotten as a gift to a friend, telling him he no longer needed them. It was strange, but no one realized it could have been a red flag. On August 27, Bryce's behavior escalated. That evening, he drove to Kim's apartment in Chico, about an hour and a half from his own. He told her he wanted to break up with her. Kim was shocked. She later said Bryce seemed off, like something was very wrong. Concerned for his safety, she refused to let him leave and even took his car keys. At 11:30 p.m., Bryce called his mother, Karen Laspisa. Karen wasn't initially alarmed, though she could tell Bryce wasn't himself. He told her nothing was wrong and insisted Kim give him back his car keys. Eventually, Karen spoke with Kim and convinced her to return the keys, believing Bryce just needed space to cool off. Kim would be the last person to see Bryce before his disappearance. Early the next morning, Bryce left Chico but didn't head back to Rocklin or home to his parents in Laguna Niguel. Instead, he began driving south with no clear destination. Over the next 24 hours, Bryce's movements became increasingly erratic and difficult to understand. At 11 a.m. on August 28, Bryce used his credit card to buy gas in Buttonwillow, a small town about 300 miles from his college. Later that afternoon, he called his parents and told them he was driving home. Karen offered to fly up to meet him if he needed help, but Bryce told her not to worry and that he'd see them soon. But Bryce didn't come home. By 9 p.m., Bryce's parents still hadn't heard from him, so they called his phone. A roadside service employee answered. According to the employee, Bryce had run out of gas near Buttonwillow earlier that day. The company delivered 3 gallons of fuel to him at 9 a.m., but by evening Bryce was still parked in the same spot. The employee became concerned after seeing him again and agreed to check on him at Karen and Michael Laspisa's request. When they arrived, Bryce was sitting in his car, seemingly fine. The employee told Bryce's parents he appeared alert, cooperative, and didn't seem under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Bryce assured his parents he was leaving soon and even called them to confirm he was back on the road. But instead of heading home, GPS tracking on his phone showed that Bryce continued aimlessly driving around the Buttonwillow area for hours. At 1:50 a.m. on August 29, Bryce called his mother again. He told her he was too tired to keep driving and was pulling over to rest. Karen suggested he stay at a local motel, but Bryce refused. Thinking he would sleep in his car and resume driving in the morning, his parents went to bed. That call was the last time they ever spoke to their son. At 8 a.m., hours after Bryce's last call, California Highway Patrol officers were dispatched to Castaic Lake after a local resident reported a wrecked car at the bottom of an embankment. It was Bryce's 2003 Toyota Highlander. The car had been driven off a 25-foot drop. Investigators determined Bryce had been traveling west on Lake Hughes Road when his car veered sharply off the pavement. Surveillance video obtained from nearby businesses confirmed he had been in the area for several hours before the crash. What happened next only added to the mystery. When officers examined the wrecked car, they found no sign of Bryce. The back window had been kicked out from the inside, suggesting he had escaped after the crash. His wallet, phone, and laptop were still in the vehicle, but his duffel bag and some personal items were missing. The family's bloodhound, brought in by search and rescue teams, traced Bryce's scent to a nearby truck stop but lost the trail there. No one could determine if Bryce had gotten into another vehicle or wandered farther into the desert. For weeks, search teams combed the area around Castaic Lake. Drones, helicopters, and divers all failed to find any trace of Bryce. Flyers with his photo were distributed, hotlines were set up, and social media rallied around the hashtag #FindBryce. But every lead went cold. In the months after Bryce's disappearance, investigators worked to piece together the events leading up to his crash. His parents believe he may have been struggling with depression or the side effects of Vyvanse, but they also hold out hope that Bryce may have survived and simply chosen to start a new life somewhere. The case remains unsolved. As of 2023, there have been no confirmed sightings of Bryce Laspisa. No remains that match his description have been found. His family continues to search for answers, holding on to the possibility that he is still out there, somewhere. Where was Bryce going that night? Why did he act so out of character in the days leading to his disappearance? And what happened to him after his car went off the road near Castaic Lake? The truth is, we may never know.